this is the outline of the programme that we thought we would like to have a go at doing on a month-by-month basis over the next 8 months. This one that we're going to do tonight, the discussion we're going to talk about tonight, is really designed to remind us of what are the reasons why Palestine is important. And the discussion topic that I suggested that we might want to talk about informally after we've gone through the presentation, is really focusing on what do we think are the key facts that we need to get across to people. And what ideas have we got? What are the best ways really of kind of winning support for Palestine? So that's the aim of tonight's talk. The others you can see there, we thought we'd follow on from what they do in West London, and we'd have a look at why the peace process had failed, because a lot of people will tell you, oh well, you know, they were offered the territory and they didn't want it and so on. We thought the third session we could have a look at exactly what's going on in Israel and Palestine at the moment, because there's some really great writers, people like Jonathan Cook, who are very good at setting out what's actually happening to Palestinians who make up the 20% of the population inside Israel itself. And they're suffering a lot at the moment with more and more repressive measures going through the Knesset. And then the fourth one, we might try and see if we could get someone you may have come across, Angus, I don't know, but she was for many, many years chair of Manchester PSC, Linda Clare, and she's really great at doing a talk on the difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And session 5, I think, is quite interesting because I remember when I first went to Palestine in 2005, you would still come across people who were really very attached to the idea of the two-state solutions being possible. And more recently, I've been for 2 or 3 years now, but even then, even in the space of 6 or 7 years, it became quite hard to find anybody that thought the two-state solution was actually practical. So we thought, notwithstanding the fact that a lot of people will say it's not up to outsiders to tell the Palestinians what the solution should be, we still thought it's worth having a discussion. And then session 6, and there's a book, that green book over there about Hamas. You know, it's actually how do you classify them and what are their origins, and we thought we could kind of have a discussion about that. And I brought that along as a resource, but there's lots of other resources as well, so somebody might be interested in doing something about that. I haven't got something about Fatah, but maybe we could. Maybe we should even it up. What do you think?
I don't think so, no.
You don't think so? But anyway, there we are. And then boycott, divestment and sanctions, what next? And there's a lot of things that are moving on. There's a book, a white book in the middle there about cultural boycott, which is quite sort of current and so on. There's a lot of work going on about trying to exclude Israel from the European football championships and so on. So there's a lot of things going on. And tomorrow I'm going to a meeting of the pension fund, West Yorkshire Pension Fund, that I sit on the board of, and there's moves to try to say we should be having a go at pulling investments out of the companies that are based in illegal settlements. Although the present government is committed to preventing local government pension funds or local government generally from taking ethical investment decisions, whether it's low carbon or don't support Israel. So it is very difficult, really. And then the final session is really about thinking about how can you counter that sort of Israeli propaganda. So, and other ideas, if people want ideas of things that they'd like to offer as topics, that'd be great. Right, so I think that these were some of the things I thought would be really good to focus on tonight. Why is Israel-Palestine question so special? Why does it kind of attract people and people feel that it's something that's really, really important once they've got to know about it? What role has Britain played in the history of Palestine? And that in a way is what I'd like us to focus on tonight. And I know that I can see for who's here that you're all probably pretty well clued up on this, but nevertheless I think it won't hurt for us maybe to just go over and remind ourselves what some of the the responsibility of the UK has been, and then a little bit at the end about how we can offer our support, and that's very much where the discussion will come in. Okay, so why is Palestine so special? This is just as a reminder, really. It's a picture of a little girl who's only about, a little girl in red, she's only about 10 or 11, I think, really. And I met her in 2005 when I went to visit the city of Hebron. And she and her family live in a little sort of apartment within the old city. And this was just showing, this is a little baby sister. And she was holding up the door. And the door, they don't have a lock on their front door because there's no point having a lock, because the Israeli troops will just shoot the lock off and go in at any time of the day and night. They're surrounded by settlers. It's really kind of scary for them. And the settlers, there's this constant pressure to get rid of Palestinians from the centre of the city of Hebron. And so I just put that up really because that baby's going to be the age that she is now, and she's going to be a woman. And this is just about people really, and it's about ordinary people like that who are living in really difficult conditions, and it's not right. So that's just a little bit about my personal motivation. And just when you think, I've got no pictures here unfortunately from Gaza, I've just put pictures up from, this is the kind of most northernmost checkpoint as you come through from Galilee, which is in what is now Israel, into the West Bank. And it's just a reminder that it is very much a land under military occupation, and in many ways it's quite shocking. But this is also, I've just put this photo up because it's also a reminder that the countryside is very beautiful as well, and Palestine is very lovely. And so for me, it's important because we've got this history of having some responsibility, historical responsibility in the UK for what I mentioned to now. But it's also because it's about humanitarian concern for Palestine, and there's that strong attachment to the land. Right, so just a sort of a reminder also about, just put the map up really to remind us about Israel and Jordan, and it doesn't mention Palestine. But just a reminder that it still is relatively close to Europe, and of course even now when some of the people who've come to grief and some of the costs to bring refugees across the Mediterranean, some of those have been trying to get Palestine under very difficult circumstances, often leaving from the ports along North Africa. So, right, so let's have a think about Britain's role. Okay, so going right back to the 1897 First Zionist Congress in Basel, which really set the scenes for what the aspiration was of the Zionist Congress, which was for a homeland for Jewish people. And we'll talk a little, and it's interesting that this is Holocaust Memorial Day, of course. It's really important that that we remember that some of the impulse for the homeland came about as a result of centuries and centuries of European anti-Semitism, Palestinian anti-Semitism, European anti-Semitism, which Palestinians bear absolutely no responsibility. But that was where the aspiration was first expressed. And in 1901, in this country, we had the founding of the Jewish National Fund, which is still a UK-registered charity, of course, and that's the quote really about it. It's devoted exclusively to the acquisition of land in Palestine for Jewish settlement. And in 1900, of course, Palestine, there were Jewish people living in Palestine at the time, and there's a breakdown there. Roughly 4% of the population of Palestine at that time were Jewish, and 96% would be classified as Arab, meaning that they might therefore in faith terms be Christian or Muslim, or some Jews at that time would have regarded themselves as Palestinian. Jewish Palestinian, Christian Palestinian, Muslim Palestinian. And I haven't really got time, it's probably not appropriate to go into what happened between the founding of the Jewish National Fund and the Balfour Declaration, but there was clearly an awful lot of heavy-duty lobbying going on of governments right across Europe, to support the aspiration of the first Zionist Congress, which was, we want our own homeland. And so the Balfour Declaration in 1917 said, and it's worth reminding ourselves there, views who favour the establishment of Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people will use best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object. I haven't included it there, but as people probably know, it goes on to say, provided that this will not disadvantage the non-Jewish population of the territories. So, but it doesn't even refer to them as Palestinian, it doesn't refer to them as Arab, it just says they're non-Jewish inhabitants. So, moving on, the following year, the year after Balfour, of course, you have the end of the First World War, which had seen the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, on the wrong side, on the losing side. It's had the Treaty of Versailles, and of course the League of Nations, which was predecessor of the United Nations, was set up then, and the Ottoman Empire was basically parcelled out. So the Middle East was divided into British and French mandated territories. You had the French taking responsibility effectively for Syria, for what became Lebanon and so on. And Britain ruling Palestine, which of course at that time also included, so actually crossed into what is now Jordan, but certainly was Palestine as well. And moving right through the Second World War, and obviously I'm glossing over in a sense that that some of what happened during British rule, but effectively Britain being really forced out in 1948, coming to the end of the 30-year mandate anyway, but allowing themselves really under pressure, military pressure, from the Zionist militias